Now, could you first tell us how you developed the passion to actually work with multilingual children in the first place, and how challenging is the profession on your part?
Okay, thank you so much. This passion for me, it came from two places. My experience as a mother and as a linguist. My experience as a mother told me that it's very demanding to raise a multilingual child with heritage language in a city like Windhoek. And from research point of view, I've learned that language is beyond vocabulary and grammar. In this context, it's about routine, for example. It's about the emotions that parents put in. It's about migration. And so I decided now to marry the two, my experience and being a linguist, so that I can come up with a study that looks at family language policy so that I can assist other parents who we find ourselves in the same journey with me. Now, your second part of the question is how challenging it is. It is challenging and rewarding at the same time. I've realized that every parent or every household has its unique challenges and its unique strategies that they have put in place to help these children recover their heritage voice. And that to me is rewarding and is what keeps me going in this specific research.
I like the key word that you said, heritage voice.
Yes.
You know, why is it so important for any child to have a heritage voice or be able to communicate in their own mother tongue?
Okay, for me, first of all, we need to understand that a heritage language is it's beyond a language. It's an identity, it's memory, it's bond, and it's also an asset when it's come to income, for example. With heritage language, children who are multilingual, they'll be able to bond with family members, for example, despite their age, their grandparents, their auntie, even young children. Also, on top of that, they will be able to have friends from diverse linguistic background. And also when it's come, nowadays we are talking about AI, for example. Companies are seeking children who are linguistically diverse so that they can help in teaching machine learning how to use indigenous language. So there is income in it, even a career in tourism, education, translation, and so on. It's really beyond a language itself. Yeah.
Let's go a little bit back to what you said about your own personal experience as a mother and as a mother to mother. I just want to hear your experience. What has it been with your children in terms of their, learning their mother tongue and learning also about multilingual languages?
Okay, good. Thank you. My own experience has been funny and it's a lesson on its own to me. I have 4 children. When I had my first child, who is now 7 years old, I had, I'm a linguist and I'm a mother. I knew I wanted my child to be multilingual. First, I wanted my child to be able to speak Oshiwambo very well, and I wanted my child also to be able to be fluent in English. So I succeeded with my first child. Probably mainly because I had help from my sisters. For example, I lived with my sister that time, and even my parents. At some point when I saw that I struggled, I had to take my child to the north to school, in the village school, so that she can get that proper linguistic knowledge.
Yes.
And I managed. She can now speak both Oshiwambo and English. With my second one, I kind of struggled because that is, he was born in Windhoek. I raised him here in Windhoek. At some point when we started, it was going well. He could speak English and Oshiwambo, but at some stage, I realized that he was losing the Oshiwambo part, mainly because he was staying at home, TV, cartoons, you name it. There is so much material in English compared to Oshiwambo. So what I did now, I decided that I cannot lose out on this. I decided to come up with a defined routine to help this child. For example, where I just take some time to speak to this child specifically in the vernacular language. Because what I've noticed that, or part of my research now that I'm here to talk about, I've noticed that the reason why most of us are losing it, it's because also of the agency that we put in communication. We just want to communicate and have it finish. You just want to tell the child that stop it, and the child leave it without considering which language you are speaking in and what impact do you want to leave. Right. So yeah, that's my journey.
Based on your research, how do language practices at home, in any ordinary Namibian family home, influence children's multilingual development?
Okay, what we need to know, a home is the first language school for any child. Okay, and what we need to know for us to understand the language practice in any home, researchers came up, for example, with a model which has 3 branches. The first one they look at is about language ideology. This has to do with what are the belief system for the parents when it's come to language use. The second one is language practice itself. This has to do with the actual language use in their home. And then the third one has to do with language management. That is the rules or the routine that they put in place to make sure that the children's, regarding the children's use of language. So now back to your question, my research has indicated that English is very dominant in Windhoek, and that's what makes it interesting. In the village, for example, where everybody is from one speech community, the issue of language is no more even a topic, because when a child is born, it's very clear that this specific child who acquire that specific language. But in Windhoek, for example, it's no more, a first language was supposed to be acquired, but in our context now, first language is no more acquired, it's learned, because there is English that is dominating, that it's everywhere. So now, that means now parents need to come up with clear guidelines. Okay, they have to make sure that when it's come to ideology that I spoke about, for example, they understand the benefit of their vernacular in their children's life. When it's come to practice, they must make sure that they come up with a clear routine, because what we say, how we say it, and what we do with language in our home determine whether the child will be multilingual or not.
You talked about the Windhoek children, but also children in other urban towns, you know, all over the country, are also multilingual. Now, what are the advantages of a child to be multilingual? Why is it so important?
Okay, good. It's a very nice question. The advantages are many. And I'll mention a few. For example, I just spoke about the issue of identity, for example, of bonding, of memory, and all that. And it's beyond that. The vernacular language is not just a transmission of past to present. It's beyond that. Like I said, now, when it's come to opportunities, for example, there are global careers where they look for multilingual, where the, linguistic diversity is a need. For example, in tourism, translation, cultural, and even indigenous knowledge system that we are currently talking about. So they are plenty.
I mean, why do many young families, especially in urban areas, you know, face the challenges of, you know, raising children that can no longer speak their mother tongue?
Okay, according to the research that I'm busy with, I have realized that there are so many reasons, but I'll be able to speak to a few. For example, you know, I earlier spoke that in a village, for example, the issue of, in a speech community, where everybody is from one speech community, the issue of the subject of heritage language is no more a problem, because every child is able to acquire that language. Right now, in Windhoek, for example, children are raised in a multilingual city, for example, where most of the material is in English. English on TV, books. I asked, for example, parents, when I was doing research, how many books do you have for children in your vernacular language? Majority of them have none. So those are the things. And also, for example, we stay in our homes, we go to work. When you come back, you just want to rest, or when kids come to you, you just speak a little bit, and meaning they get the material that is around them, that is in their surrounding, because there must be linguistic resources for a child to pick up. It's in English, and when you come in, you just came in with this sense of agency. You just want to communicate a few, talk to them a little bit and go to sleep. It's those things. There is so much that is surrounding
surrounding the children in that space. Definitely there is.
The resources is not sufficient.
Indeed. You recently conducted a study which investigated 10 working class families. Quite interesting. Most of them whom they migrated from to the city and, you know, and now they live far from their traditional speech communities, like you say. Now, please share with us the outcome of that research, of that study.
Okay, good. Before I go to outcome, maybe I should just make it clear that I studied 10 families. 5 of them were those whose children were able to speak their heritage language, and 5 of them is those whose children couldn't speak their heritage language. The aim I wanted to learn from, to see, using the family language policy, what the 5 families does that others do not do, that their children couldn't speak their vernacular language. The finding, I've realized that migration on its own, you being from your community in Windhoek, it's contributing to that. For example, because children do not have access to the cousin, to the auntie, and a whole community that will be able to give them sufficient linguistic resources for them to be able to pick up this language. Also, on top of that, I've realized, because in my study, I had 3 research instruments. The first one was a questionnaire. The second one was a language portrait, where I gave parents a blank paper, and then I asked them to draw their houses and indicate with different colors which language they used where, and so on. Through that language portrait, so many families were able to realize that, so this means actually I do not use my vernacular enough in their house, and that is also a problem, because that means there is no enough linguistic resources for this child to capture that. And also, now we are at the point where we do not need to blame each other as parents, but to find solution. What is that we need to do so that we can assist one another? And one of the 3 solutions that I would suggest for now, the first one is to set up a clear routine, where, for example, you know, bedtime stories, you are just going to tell stories in a specific language, that is vernacular. Maybe you have time during Saturday or weekends where you just spend 5 minutes or whatever time you have with your children and just try to speak, even if they don't understand. And again, try to bring in a community. A community, that means if you have cousins, aunt, and so on, have your children go there and visit them, or come and visit you, so that you can just increase the linguistic resources in vernacular around your children. Also, try to create space where, for example, your friends or people that you know whose children speak vernacular language, those children comes together and play together. Those are some of the interventions that can assist this parent, because after all, despite all its insufficient linguistic resources due to English that is everywhere. And if we are assisting English by bringing more books, by bringing more stories in English, then we are neglecting our vernacular, and our children will not be able to speak it.